Radical.
I got some great news, some great fucking news, and it's about damn time. It's about damn time one of these companies gets sued for releasing, quotation, a game, even though what they're releasing is not an actual game. Let me explain. Now, if you went into buying The Crew, you would have a feeling and understanding that that's a game that you are purchasing. At the time, it was $60, right? If you're going into it with an idea that it's something that you're going to purchase and you're going to be able to play whenever you'd like to, then you got a rude-ass wake-up call when the servers were shut down for The Crew. I've been meaning to talk about this. It's a damn crying shame I hadn't been able to talk about this and unload on these motherfuckers at Ubisoft. Well, great news is, in a filing submitted to California court on November 4th, 2024, two players have alleged that Ubisoft duped consumers into purchasing The Crew without the knowledge that its servers could be shut down, making the game unplayable. Ubisoft misled consumers by telling them they were buying a game, when in fact, all they were renting was a limited license to access a game, the filing read. This deception was compounded by the fact that many gamers, like the plaintiffs, bought physical discs storing the game data, which reasonably made them believe that they could input that disc into their computer or game console whenever they wanted. The lawsuit also claimed consumers were misled in believing they owned the game data, either physically on a disc or via digitally downloaded files. Instead, the data was stored on a remote server that the physical and digital copies of the game provided access to. Another quotation here is Ubisoft intended consumers to rely on their representation and omissions in making their purchasing decisions, the lawsuit read. Through their conduct, Ubisoft had violated California state consumer protection laws. Now, I will be paying close attention, as many people, to see what happens in this lawsuit. This could set precedent for future law in cases like this. Now, what have I talked about? On and on and on again throughout the years on my channel. The fact that you should always have, if you have a game, you should, number one, have a possibility to buy a physical representation of that game. A disc, a cart, something, because you are buying a game. Also, there's another aspect here is, let's just be honest here, representation of a game. Representation. So there can be documented access to something for art purposes. Could you imagine an album that came out that you could no longer get access to, you can no longer listen to? Could you imagine a movie that came out on Blu-ray DVD that you could never have access to? In the future, the sad fucking future, be a situation where people can't even buy products, they can't own them, and then they can't even access them later. They'll have to put their hands together. Pretty please. EA, Ubisoft, pretty please. Warner Brothers, Sony, pretty please. May we have access? We bought this. Can we experience the game, please? Not just a limited license. You deserve more than a fucking limited license to access the data that's stored somewhere else. When you are downloading something digitally, when you are getting something like this, you run the risk of no longer even having access to it. But, like I was saying, keeping an eye on this is important law, important precedent that could be set up for future cases like this. We have to draw a line in the sand. Because you see, the future is not written in stone right now. There's still, I believe, some time. Because, when you get the law involved, then things could fucking change a little bit. I 100% agree with this lawsuit. 110% agree. Because I don't think anyone would have purchased The Crew back years ago. Well, maybe some dumbasses might have. But if people were told straight up, hey, you know what? Your access to this game, it's up to whatever we want to do. Okay? You pay us $60 and we might let you play this game years into the future. But we might not. It's completely up to us. You give us your money. I would say, at the very least, there should be some kind of a understanding, or put it right out there to people that they're not buying a game anymore. Okay, you're buying a license just to access it. And it might be like in the fine fucking print under that EULA or whatever you go through. But no. It needs to come out to people. And then they would maybe second guess whether or not they wanted to spend a full price on a game that they could no longer access in the future. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this. There's hardly anything else I'm passionate about other than fine trim. Honestly, I feel very strongly about this. Now, I believe it is deception on a grand scale. Plain and simple. It is deception. Because so many people went into buying The Crew thinking this is a huge, at the time it was a huge Ubisoft release. That this is a huge, gigantic release, and they're going to constantly support this for the people that bought it. Reasonable, right? I think it's reasonable. You look at all the money Ubisoft has made throughout the years, how big of a company that is. Yeah. If you create a game and you release it, then you have to, in some way, shape, or form, have access to that game. If you don't provide access to that game, you've just stolen people's money. You've stolen their fucking money. It doesn't matter if you shut it down 10 years after the fact, 10 months after the fact, 10 days after the fact. I mean, hell, look at Concord. Look how long that lasted. If you are releasing these games, these full release $60, $70 games, with an expectation that people will be able to access them, then it is deception, plain and simple. You're deceiving the customer base. Now, what if you actually come out before every release of the game? It'd be really interesting is, after this ruling, if Ubisoft would actually have to change some of the way that they release things, or maybe stop calling these games straight out. Maybe that's the answer. Just stop calling them games. Quit putting out bulletins that we're releasing a new game on November the 15th. On January the 2nd, we're coming out with this game called... No, don't even call it a fucking game. Just call it a limited rental service. A limited service is all you got to do, really. You know? I mean, that would still suck too. But at least you would let people know that we as a company, Ubisoft, we don't release games anymore. We release rental services. Just like a car rental service. One more thing of note, the plaintiffs have requested monetary relief and damages as a result of the server shutdown, and for the court to approve the filing as a class action lawsuit to involve other affected consumers. I really hope it goes their way. I really do. And I hope, beyond hope, a lot of the new gamers today that sadly are growing up without knowing ownership, that think actually it's stupid to have a disc or a cartridge, I hope they truly understand what's at stake here. See, we're just in the tip of it, right? The Crew shutting down, not allowing people to access the game anymore. This is the tip of the iceberg. For all these dumb motherfuckers not understanding, not wanting to put up any kind of a fight, not wanting to actually boycott all online only games at $70, And it's simple. Don't buy this shit. If it's an online-only game for $70, just don't buy it. Vote for with your wallet. But to all these people that are perfectly fine with games as a service, you don't seem to understand that there might come a day where you might want to actually have something and own something to be able to resell it, to share it, to trade it with other people, to just have it for yourself. Game ownership is very important. And these companies, in time, believe me, it's not just Ubisoft. These companies want to get to a point to where you no longer buy video games from them. You rent video games from them, but not a cheap rental fee, like $3 or $4, like back in the day with rental stores. No, they want you to pay $70 up front to rent their data. Fuck that, and fuck them.